Neve's force neared Davor's abyss. Signs of beastly feasting were not hard to find. Countless paw and claw tracks were impressed in the blood-stained snow. Among the boulders, bones picked clean were strewn about. Gascon lifted one from the ground.
Empty inside,
He said,
something sucked out the marrow.
Neve's soldiers feigned indifference to the grisly sight. They marched on, their stepped rhythm unwavering, a song on their lips. Yet hearing a slight tremolo in their voices, Neve knew they merely sought to drown out their fear. A moment later, a commander's horn sounded, the signal to halt. The Queen galloped to the fore of the column and found herself at the edge of a vast, round hole in the ground. She could not see the bottom. Neve drew her reins tight to prevent her mount from taking even one step forward.
What is this? A crater? A desiccated lake?
A mine of the strip variety.
Gabor explained.
Treasures we picked and shoveled for here. Diamonds. Till we happened on the beasts, that is.
What now?
Orion's a dam. Holds back a lake. If we can break it, water'll rush in, fill the abyss and the tunnels from which the beasts emerge. Just need to get around the mine first. Way down's on the other side.
Neve squinted and gazed into the distance. Indeed, there was the dam. And at its foot, a swarm of beasts roiled about. Her soldiers gazed at their queen expectantly, their arms at the ready. She knew well they would rush into battle, in spite of their fear.
Gabor!
Neve cried out over the whirling wind.
Have you bards here in Mahakam?
Course, your grace!
Then we shall give them good reason to compose this day, on the themes of courage, of heroism, of Lyria! Gee up!
And with that cry, the queen spurred her mount, grabbed a banner, and raising it high over her head, rushed headlong at the horrid swarm.
There's the way down! We need to break through and destroy the dam!
Catch!
Ha!
Can't take it anymore.
Thing about slings, they hide well.
The chase is on!
Your Grace, monsters approach from all sides.
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
Excellent! The dam's about to give!
Coin never stinks, no matter how rank the pouch.
Hey!
It worked! Look at those scanners flounder!
Excellent work!
And indeed, bards sang of this battle soon after. For no claws or fangs could break through the wall of shields the Lyrians raised that day. And no scales could protect the beasts from the Lyrians' stinging arrows and blades.
Fight! Do not relent! Let us show these beasts! It is they who should fear us!
The Queen shouted. In the end, the beasts turned to flee, yet Leave's force cut off any chance of escape. A solid wall of men began to push the monsters ever closer to the edge of Davor's abyss. Pressed from all sides, the horrors began slipping over the precipice, screeching terribly as they fell. Silence came at last. The Queen stood at the edge of the precipice, breathing heavily, leaning on her sword. From the depths of the mine came muted growls and groans.
Let's flood the damn hole,
Hissed Gabor.
before any other shite crawls out of it.
A rush of icy water suddenly rose, then just as abruptly plunged into the mine, flooding the pit. And where once lay Davor's abyss, now lay Davor's pond. Meve descended back into the pass, exhausted and covered in beastly blood, yet also exceedingly pleased. She was one step closer to dwarven support in the war against Nilfgaard. Once the Lyrians had put some distance between themselves and the now destroyed monster lair, Meve ordered her men to pitch camp. Then she sent the quartermaster off for food and drink. The soldiers lit campfires, then set aside their weapons. Soon after, lively music and song could be heard throughout the camp.
Your Majesty,
Reynard said from behind Meve's back.
a messenger from the Elder-in-Chief.
The Queen turned to see a dwarf in a richly adorned jerkin and a shako with golden seams. She stifled her laugh into a smile and lifted her chin proudly, expecting praise and a pledge of aid in the war against Nilfgaard.
My lady, your daring deeds have come to the Elder's attention,
said the dwarf in a measured voice.
He's positively irate and demands an explanation.
Irate? But why? I and my men, we've aided you greatly.
Elder Hugh awaits at the Long Bridge. You'd be wise not to keep him there any length of time.
And with that, all the Queen's enthusiasm for a celebration was instantly gone. She waited until the fires expired and the songs died down, then gave the order to march.
Frozen. All. Only the banner moves, blown by the wind.
Downright poetic. Prime material for a ballad. Perhaps even a whole saga.
Gazing towards the horizon, Niamh noticed a dark shape outlined against the mantle of snow that lay on the ground. It proved a tower, toppled and broken in pieces. Around it lay the ruins of other buildings, blocks hewn out of basalt rock protruding from the permafrost.
That'd be the Clan Vidmar ruins,
said Gabor, hollering over the wind.
Rich ones had their clan seat here till earth tremors turned all into dust. Hundreds of dwarves lived here once, and now, not a living soul.
Ah! Help! Save me!
On the contrary, there was someone midst the ruins, and said someone was clearly in trouble. Niamh ordered her men to find the unfortunate soul. They returned moments later, leading a dwarf whose teeth chattered. They had found him in a ruined building where he'd sought shelter from ghouls. Judging by his appearance, the dwarf had spent the better part of a week there.
Marco Vidmar, they call me.
He said, patting down unkempt hair that seemed to reach in all directions.
I came here seeking a family heirloom, lost in the tremors and the chaos they caused. I ken the chamber where it ought to be, but, well, beasts made their lair there. I cannot drive them off on my own. But bold warriors like yous ought to cut them down in a jiffy. So, will you help?
I too have lost my home, estate,
said the Queen.
so I understand well what you feel. I shall help you recover your heirloom. Call it a whim.
Mirko Vidmar's face lit up. Though he'd spent a week besieged and eating stale biscuits, and though there was a hoarfrost in his beard, he quickly trotted to the front of the column and led the Lyrian soldiers to the underground chamber. As promised, beasts awaited there.
The ruins! From there they come! Drive them back!
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
Let's get a move on before any others show up.
As soon as the fight was done, Mirko Vidmar ran towards a crate that stood on a pedestal, slipping on the now bloody floor. When the dwarf lifted the lid, precious stones spilled out.
Your heirloom? This?
Asked the Queen, rather puzzled.
I thought a pipe that belonged to your grandfather more likely.
Seems to me Brother Mirko wasn't wholly candid with us. This here's no heirloom, no family souvenir. It's the treasure trove of Clan Vidmar. We thought it gone for good.
Pressed for the truth, Mirko admitted no family sentiment had prompted this expedition. The dwarf had planned to leave Mahakam and start a new life among humans. Yet he did not wish to do so without sizable capital.
I can't stand to stay here a moment longer. The days, all of them, they're identical. Rise with the first cockscrow, march in double file to the latrine, crap on command, 12 hours down the shaft and home to sleep.
Mirko complained.
Want a wifey? Put in an application, in triplicate. Care to snip your beard? Elders got to approve it. You want to add buttermilk, not cream, to your mushroom soup? Clan council's got to debate it. How's a dwarf not to get balmy?
I understand the lad, no two ways about it.
Gabor sighed.
But I feel it's my duty to remind yous that what Mirko's going and doing here, well, there are laws. Treasure's due the Elder-in-Chief, not to Mirko, that's one. Second, any dwarf that wants to leave Mahakam can't take nothing but his breeches, his dixie, and his coat. So, brief like, consider well afore you make your decision, Your Grace.
When I was a lass of but 12 summers, my mother ordered me to go to a ball in a pink crinoline dress. In it I resembled a meringue pastry.
Meave smiled at the memory.
So I cut it into ribbons and fled out my bedroom window.
What's that got to do with?
What I wish to say, Gabor, is that I understand him. And though it be against your laws, I shall allow him to take the treasure and leave.
Mirko Vidmar had tears in his eyes as he thanked the Queen. Then he heaved the crate onto his back, and deeply bent over under its weight, he trudged off towards human lands. The Lyrians rode a narrow, winding path along the rocky ridge. To one side were ice-covered boulders, to the other, a chasm hundreds of feet deep.
They could have at least erected some barriers,
complained Gascon, knocking snow from his cap.
Got plans for that?
Gabor said.
Just need to decide how high to make them.
What?
Think. Should they be the height of your average dwarf, or a human? The debate's gone on for 20 years. On the one hand, you've got...
Gabor did not finish his discussion. He was interrupted by the Barbegazi that jumped down from the rocks.
Archers! Shoot! Aim for underbelly!
Neve soldiers made quick work of the lone monster. But the sound of battle spooked the horses harnessed to one of their wagons.
Whoa there! Whoa, damn it!
The driver tried to rein in the animals, but could not. They dragged him into the chasm along with his cart and the soldiers riding in it. They landed a few dozen feet below on a rocky outcropping. A moment later, Barbegazis swarmed everywhere.
Did you see how they fared? Anyone left alive?
Asked Meave, leaning over the cliff edge.
Worry more about their cargo,
Gascon replied.
They were also carrying chests of gold.
Blast. We can't get down there. Too steep and the snow keeps falling.
We can lower ourselves down a line. But without armor, shields, or heavy weapons, otherwise it will snap.
And the Barbegazis?
The Queen said, brow raised.
We shan't kill them with daggers. They're too thick of armor.
We'll have to try. Or continue on our way.
You only live once.
Meave sighed.
Gascon, round up some volunteers and let us move out.
Moments later, the Queen was lowering herself down a line straight towards the gaping maw of a Barbegazi. Her only armor, a woolen shirt.
careful! No one try to be a hero!
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth? Have it the white of an eye from half a league away.
Ah, slippery up here, and it's a bloody long way down.
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads.
Bereft of sword and shield, Meve could not withstand a single blow. She thus danced atop the frozen snow, deftly dodging the Barbegazi's lightning-fast strikes, while delivering but a few well-aimed hits of her own, to their eyes, ears, and gaping jaws. When the last monster fell lifeless to the ground, Meve walked up to the shattered wagon. The soldiers it had carried were bruised, frostbitten, but alive.
Your Grace, we were sure you'd leave us.
A good ruler never abandons her folk.
Nor her gold.
Gascon interjected, while securing a rope to a chest. Soon enough, all were safely back on the path. The admiration Meve saw in her soldiers' eyes was in itself sufficient reward for her difficult battle.